You're tuned into the first newscast devoted to the Highland Lakes area. Local team coverage on Tribune Headline News, bringing you the stories you care about now. Hi everyone, Connie Swinney here with your headlines. You're watching us on Northland Channel 15. Here's what we have coming up. A tally of early voting numbers is in for city and school elections throughout Burnet County. One of the largest number of early voters in one election and a lower than expected turnout in another. We have the results. The local housing authority takes steps to break ground on a new 80-unit housing project. Where it's going to be, coming up. And how do you do on Howdy Roo? Well, we have the images of the annual Chili Cookoff in Marble Falls.
With Mayfest and Market Day coming up this weekend, I'll tell you if we can expect more rain or sunshine later in the weather.
That's our guest weather forecaster. We'll introduce her to you later. This is Tribune Headline News. We'll be right back after the break.
We are established, we are qualified, we are certified, we are knowledgeable, we are dependable. We are Ken's Heating and Air. Our people make the difference.
Welcome back. The figures are in for early voting tallies in school and city elections throughout Burnet County. The total number of early ballots cast is 1,636. Here's a look at the breakdown for some of the elections. Burnet CISD had 655 early voters. Burnet, 330 people cast ballots early. In Bertram, 33. Marble Falls ISD, 980 voters voted early. Marble Falls, that's the city election, 243. And Meadow Lakes, 276. And Granite Shoals, 208. And you can see a couple more cities there on your screen. To give us an idea of how early voting totals look this year, Marble Falls ISD early voting was down compared to 2009. At that time, 1,315 people voted early compared to 980 this year. But Granite Shoals early voting numbers showed an extreme increase compared to their last city election. 208 early voters this year compared to only 66 last year. Election officials suspect a proposition to approve bonds for a wastewater plant may be influencing the turnout in that city. We'll bring you more details and, of course, your election coverage on election night, May 14th. In our next headline, a housing development project in Marble Falls moves closer to groundbreaking. This is the site selected for the Oak Creek Townhomes project. The plan includes 80 apartments of various sizes in a tract between Avenue L and an unpaved alleyway 1 block east of Avenue K. It remains in the vicinity of the existing federal housing units, most of which are vacated. Many of them have already been or are scheduled for demolition. The new units are to be rented on an income level basis, and rent prices could range from $540 a month to $750 per month, depending on the size of the unit. Housing authority officials say after construction is complete, they will rent to the first 80 people who qualify. We'll be right back with your weather forecast.
The Faith Academy girls track team is looking to add to its trophy case. We're going to tell you all about the state meet coming up in sports.
Because experience matters. For home, auto, business, health, and life, we are here for you. When Galloway experts make top providers compete for your business, you win. The Galloway Insurance Team since 1935. Burnet, Horseshoe Bay, and Marble Falls.
Welcome back. We're proud to welcome our guest weather host today. Amy Lee is from the local Chamber of Commerce. She has been the organization's events coordinator since January. She comes to the community from Austin but grew up in Idaho. Here she is with your forecast and a look at some fun events sponsored by the Chamber coming up this weekend.
Hey everyone, I'm Amy Lee with the Marble Falls Lake LBJ Chamber of Commerce. It's a big weekend for Marble Falls with Mayfest and Market Days going on at the same time. On Saturday, May 14th, Market Day will feature over 100 vendors along Main Street. They're selling everything from jewelry and clothing to wind chimes and rustic furniture. The event is from 9 to 4. I'll tell you about Mayfest after the weather. Here's what the forecast will look like on your way into the weekend. On Thursday, there is a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Some of the storms could be severe. Cloudy, then gradually becoming sunny with a high near 85. South to southwest wind between 5 and 10 miles an hour. On Thursday night, there's a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Mostly cloudy with a low around 66. On Friday, partly sunny with a high near 86. North to northwest winds between 5 and 15 miles an hour, with gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. On Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 59. North to northwest winds between 5 and 10 miles an hour. On Saturday, sunny with a high near 80. North to northwest winds between 5 and 10 miles an hour. After Saturday, we still have highs in the lower 80s, but no chances of rain. While you're at Market Day, be sure and make your way to Johnson Park for all of the Mayfest activities. The carnival comes to town on Thursday in Johnson Park. Then all weekend long, you can enjoy live music, food, and even a Wild West gun show in the park. For the first time, you can rent a kayak and take in the sights and sounds of the festival from the water. Check out the website on your screen for details. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you this weekend. For the Picayune TV, I'm Amy Lee.
Thanks, Amy. Excellent job. Come back anytime. Now, before we move to sports, even though we had some thunder showers in the past 24 hours, we are still in a drought situation, and we'll be monitoring that and bringing you updates as they become available. Now let's turn to sports with Jennifer Fierro.
A dropped baton in the 400-meter relay and a change in the 1,600-meter relay was all the difference in the Faith girls track team winning another state championship and coming in second. This time, the Lady Flames were unable to defend their 2010 crown, finishing second, 1 point behind Shiner St. Paul at the Class 2A state meet over the weekend. We did get a chance to talk to head coach Steve McCannon, who said, quote, "That's just sports. Sometimes things happen. Now the Lady Flames will be looking to rebound. They lose standout senior Jordan Gray to graduation, who was the state champion in both hurdle events as well as a shot put, and then junior Brookfield won the discus, and she will be coming back." We do have some news from the Marble Falls football team. Senior Logan Clark signed to play for Angelo State University. We did get a chance to talk to him during a signing ceremony at the high school last week. Here's what he had to say.
So it kind of started after the season, had a pretty good year, and, we kind of thought about, going to play at the next level, so kind of got after it, kept in the weight room, on the field, working out a lot, and it just worked out really well.
That's it for sports. I'm Jennifer Fierro. Connie, back to you.
Jennifer, thanks. As our chamber representative reminded us earlier, it is festival season for sure, as you can tell by the upcoming Market Day and Mayfest in Marble Falls this weekend. We captured a few images from a chili cook-off last weekend. Take a look.
Jim Collier, Snyder, Texas, you're a Howdy Roo Chili champion.
The Howdy Roo Cookoff featured hundreds of participants from around the state. The only thing warmer than the weather that weekend was the chili. The festival also featured the best chicken and brisket cooks in the region as well. A number of vendors and live music also entertained visitors. Those were your headlines. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. Coming up next, the Picayune Roundup, where we tour a winery here in the area and another candidates forum. Thanks for watching. For the Picayune TV, I'm Connie Swinney.
Hey everybody, Jared Fields here with your Picayune Roundup. In this week's episode, we take you on a tour of a local winery where visitors not only got an exclusive taste from the local crop, they supported an organization which relies on donations for some of its programs. It's an idyllic setting, a vineyard located just off Park Road 4 in Burnet County. On the way to the tasting room at Pariso's Winery, you can drive down a path and see the fruits of their labor. The owners of this winery thought it was time to share their success with the nearby library. A recent wine tasting event featured the best of the vineyard, a tour of the facility, and lots of prizes for friends of the Kingsland Library. Proceeds for the event will go to the facility located just off Ranch Road 1431. The grape grower not only played host to the event, he got a chance to share his dream.
To largely make wine just from the grapes that we grow from our own vineyard. first red will be our Syrah and Mourvedre, all grown right here. Just get them the white, I'll give you a little bit extra.
Thank you, sweetheart. Did you get it, Beth? Good.
This event was all about taking in the beauty of the vineyard. Some who attended got to sit, relax, and sample the wine. The setting allowed guests to nestle right next to the vines, bearing fruit for the latest vintage. For the first time, many were able to get a peek behind the scenes of what it takes to turn grapes into wine. Donations will help keep summer programs going for children in the Kingsland area.
Our children's program, our teen program, summer programs throughout the year, and so we're very, very pleased.
Coordinators gave back to those who attended by offering prizes and other freebies to make their experience more memorable. But probably the best gift of all was helping with the cause for kids.
Some volunteers decided that since the one we had several years ago was so popular and successful, that they would try it again. And Iris Biediger headed up and spearheaded it, and several friends supported her, and most of the friends, all of the friends have really been just working to make this a very successful event.
Well, that was the Picayune Roundup for this week. Be sure to pick up your free copy of the Picayune, where you can find stories like these. And it's an anniversary year for our publication. You can find heartwarming features each week focusing on people who recall how the Picayune has been a part of their lives for the past 20 years. Thanks for watching. I'm Jared Fields.
Today we're in beautiful downtown Burnet at the Hill Country Community Foundation building. We're going to be taking a look at the Burnet Consolidated Independent School District races, putting the hard questions to the candidates. Stay with us. Welcome back. Today on Tribune Talk with Thomas Edwards, we're taking a look at the Burnet Consolidated Independent School District races. I'd like to introduce our panel of guest candidates for the school board. First, we'll start with place 3, Kay Behrens, Martin Riley, and then for place 7, incumbent Steve Salinas and Jim Luther, his opponent. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
The format is we give our candidates 3 questions. They have a minute each to answer the question, and then comes the fun part, the wild card question, which is completely off the cuff. Let's start with our first question, and we're going to direct it to Ms. Behrens. The question is, would you support a property tax increase if state aid fails to fund the district to an adequate level? Ms. Behrens.
That's a really hard question because it would affect me as a property owner as well as everybody else. But I think, first of all, the district should not just, the board should not just jump off and propose that. They should do everything else they can. And then if we did everything and couldn't balance the budget, I'm not saying I would be against it, but if that's the only option, I think at this point, the best thing to do would just keep contacting our legislatures and telling them that they need to figure out how to support the kids of Texas with the education that they deserve.
Thank you very much, Ms. Behrens, for that response. Mr. Riley, it's your turn, sir.
I could say yes and just walk out the door because I probably wouldn't get elected. But along with Kay, I think that until the state budget is set, that all of that's speculation. Not to say that, you know, the best thing would be for our state legislatures to be able to balance the budget without us having to do that. But with that being said, that is something that has to be revisited by the Board of Trustees on a regular basis to justify whether or not that is something that needs to be done.
Very good answer. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to direct the question to incumbent Steve Salinas, who is running for place 7. Mr. Salinas?
Thank you. That's a very difficult question to answer, especially in light of the budget process. I mean, we can be anywhere from $1 million to $3 million off, as you no, the Senate and the House budgets are $4 billion apart from each other, but they do have one thing in common, and they're both cutting budgets for schools. The thing that we have been doing on the board is looking readily into cuts that we can make that don't affect the kids. I mean, first and foremost, we have to make the priorities the kids. We've gone through attrition with some of our folks as they retire and consolidated classes, but we're trying to keep our system whole and provide the best we can for the kids. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, and I'm not saying I'm for it, but we're going to make all efficiencies, look at the district as a whole to see what we can cut before we would even go to the public with the tax ratification election.
All right, thank you, Mr. Salinas. And Mr. Jim Luther, that question goes to you too, sir.
Thank you. I also think that that's a tough question. It's a tough situation that the board is going to have to address. My first answer would be I would be opposed to it until all other avenues of budgets have been looked at. I don't think that that is something that we want to approach right now, but it may be something we have to look at in the long term.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Luther. Now we have another question. This is one of my favorites. I'll be interested to hear their answers to this one. Candidates, do you believe the curriculum strategy known as C-Scope is good or bad for the district? And Ms. Behrens, again, the question goes to you first.
I think that C-Scope is the way that the district needs to go because it's the curriculum that the STARS test is based on, so we need to align ourselves with that curriculum. Even though I know change is really, really hard, it was really, really hard several years ago when the district aligned themselves with the area schools and started the Hill Country Curriculum Consortium. And they did well at that, and that was a good curriculum, and it's done well for the district. But that doesn't mean that's where we need to stay. We need to advance, because if you advance, in order to advance, you have to change and improve, and I think the way to do that is with the C-Scope curriculum.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Martin Riley, who's also running for place 3. Your turn, sir.
As far as C-Scope is concerned, I don't see that there's a problem necessarily with the curriculum. Again, it is something that state mandated testing as far as STARS goes lines up with that so that our students are successful in the STARS testing. The way that the curriculum is put together has been in question of whether or not you follow the C-Scope curriculum to a T, or do you allow your teachers to use their own imagination and their own teaching skills along with the C-Scope curriculum to make it successful. Are we only concerned with our children's STAR testing, or are we concerned with their education as a whole? Do we want to completely tie our teachers' hands behind our back, or do we give them some leeway in the classroom to be able to implement C-Scope to the best that it can be implemented?
Well, thank you very much. The question now goes to Mr. Steve Salinas.
Yeah, and this is another question. I mean, I know it's been highly publicized. C-Scope is a viable and supported curriculum. It's used by 19 of the regions and over 1,200 districts within the state of Texas. I don't believe C-Scope is a one-size-fits-all, though. I think it's best left up to the professional judgment of the teachers. C-Scope provides a framework which allows the teachers to add or remove components as they see fit to meet the instructional needs of their kids. And they're going to be our best judgment. Or they have kids that are not on equal playing fields. And what C-Scope allows us to do is compete on that playing field for what's being learned across the state of Texas by other districts. So it evens out the playing field. And I believe that we're preparing our kids to meet the educational challenges of the future, and we've got amazing staff that provides that, and they will succeed in success of our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Also, Mr. Luther, your response, please, sir.
I don't think C-Scope is a bad curriculum. I think there's a lot of good aspects with the curriculum. I do think that the teachers need to have more of an input on how the curriculum is taught in the classroom and have the leeway to teach other things with the curriculum. C-Scope, from what I've heard, is an okay curriculum, but teachers' hands are kind of tied, from what I hear, on teaching anything else but the curriculum.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your response. And now to our third question for the candidates. What, if anything, can be done to reduce time and money spent on the transportation of students? Ms. Behrens, please.
I know the district has already been very proactive in making changes to routes and trying to have buses get to schools later so they're not sitting there idling as long. So they've already been very proactive. With the big geographical area of our district that covers parts of 3 counties and the rising fuel costs, it's going to be hard to manage. I think that it's an ongoing process where the district needs to keep looking at the routes and student ridership and make sure that they make changes as necessary and appropriate on those routes. I also feel like that the only place to really cut is extracurricular, if it comes to that, and so the administration on the campuses would have to look at those trips and see if they're really necessary and trips that have absolutely be taken.
Well, thank you very much. And now the same question goes to our other Place 3 candidate, Mr. Martin Riley.
As the school district looks at trying to cut budgets, again, we don't know what to do until the state sets its budget. As far as consolidating bus routes, something that would have to be looked at very seriously, and I know they already are. How long do you want kids to be on the bus? How many routes could be consolidated? Those kinds of things to be able to reduce some routes. Hard questions for sure. As far as the extracurricular, this is a 2-part question because it has to do with extracurricular activities too. I am a big advocate of extracurricular activities within our schools. I think that it develops well-rounded kids with good social skills and teaches them a lot of things that they can't learn in the classroom through extracurricular activities. It's something that is a very important issue that has to be visited by the Board of Trustees for sure.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Salinas, for Place 7, the incumbent, what's your response to that question, sir?
Transportation has been one of the biggest costs in BCISD for years. What makes it difficult, we transport over 2,000 kids a day. I mean, that's over 2/3 of our students that we have. And we're covering an area of 703 square miles. And we travel close to 1 million miles a year, which makes it difficult. I mean, it's a never-ending target. Fuel prices, last year we budgeted at a rate of 2.25 a gallon, 2.25 a gallon. Now we're looking at excess of 350. I mean, that's adding another $300,000 to our budget. We're being as efficient as we possible with the routes, and we're actually looking at even consolidating routes maybe to make centralized stops. We're buying buses that are fuel efficient, that conform to state standards. It's definitely a moving target, but I think the district is, weekly looking at efficiencies in bus routes and will continue to do so.
Well, thank you very much. And the question also goes to our other Place 7 candidate, Mr. Jim Luther.
That's also a problem that I think everybody's facing. We can look at consolidating the routes, look at the idle time policy, and those sort of things. But the bottom line is we've got to get the kids to school. If they're not at school, then we don't have school. I think the extracurricular activities, that's not a place that I would look at cutting either. It is my hope that the state of Texas legislature comes to an agreement and solves this problem for us somewhat.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Luther. Our candidates have given us some very excellent considered responses to these questions. Now we come to a segment that we like to call the wild card question. This is a question they have not been prepped for. It arises from reader and viewership participations and even some bull sessions back in the newsroom. We're going to see how our candidates think on their feet with this one. Candidates, what would you do to give rank and file BCISD employees more of a voice? We'll start with Ms. Behrens.
Well, I feel like that they already have somewhat of a voice, but I think that the principals on the campuses need to know for sure that they need to listen to their staff, and that, just because they're in charge and they are the principal doesn't mean what they say necessarily goes, that they can be questioned and, in a respectful way. They can be questioned, but they also, teachers are teaching the kids, so they have good ideas, so they need to be receptive to those ideas.
Thank you very much. And the other Place 3 candidate, Mr. Martin Riley, how do you respond, sir?
Oh, I think it's very important that the voice of the faculty and the rank and file, as you put it, is heard. it is kind of a general consensus from some of the faculty that I've spoken to is that they don't feel like their voices are heard, not only within the administration, but within the Board of Trustees itself. And I think there needs to be some transparency among the administration and the Board of Trustees, and have avenues for the faculty to go to voice their concerns, a place and a forum where they are actually heard and taken into consideration.
Good, thank you very much. Place 7 incumbent, Mr. Steve Salinas, your response, sir?
Yeah, teachers are our front lines to the kids. I mean, they are doctors, they're counselors, they're mothers, they're disciplinarians. I mean, they know what's going on. If there is a problem that arises, it's going to come from the teachers. And they're going to be the first ones to address it. Our administration needs to listen to our teachers. It's vital that we listen to them, because those problems are going to be the ones that help make the district a better place to be. It's simply stated, I mean, the teachers are a lifeblood of this district, and they have to have a voice. Even if it's a bad idea or a good idea, it's going to lend information to our administrators. Hey, we've got something coming up, we need to address it, and we need to fix it.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Jim Luther, sir.
I also think that the teachers in the trenches are the ones that are doing the work. I think that there needs to be an avenue that they can be heard, they can voice their concerns without any fear of repercussions because they spoke their mind. A lot of what they have to say is beneficial to our students. The concerns that they have or concerns that have to do with the education and how they're taught. I would always have an open mind and be willing to talk to any one of them. I think they need to have an avenue to get to us and to talk with their principals and administration.
Thank you very much. This has been Tribune Talk with Thomas Edwards, the Candidates Forum. Today we've looked at the race for the Burnet Consolidated Independent School District. We've had a wonderful panel. I'd like to thank our guests, including Place 3 candidates Kay Behrens and also Mr. Martin Riley, the Place 7 candidates, including incumbent Steve Salinas and Mr. Jim Luther. I'd like to remind our viewers that they can catch this show on www.thepicayunetv.com, as well as on Northland Communications Cable Channel 15. It's a great show. We appreciate you being here. We want you to go out and vote May 14th. Exercise your right. Panelists, thank you very much. Have a great day, viewers. Thank you very much.